What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2000 Oldsmobile Intrigue. Up front is a 3.5 liter V6, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this here Oldsmobile Intrigue for a couple of reasons. First of all, I love bringing Oldsmobiles to the channel. It's a dead brand that is no longer currently around, and so I get excited to immortalize one of those vehicles in one of my videos. The other reason is the fact that this is an Intrigue GLS, which was the top trim level for the 2000 model year. And so we'll talk about some of the interior and exterior goodies that you get with that throughout the rest of the video. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers like this retro sticker pack or big friggin' bottle sticker, both with free shipping. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 3.5 liter V6 under the hood. Well, it makes about 215 horsepower and 230 foot-pounds of torque. So it's not a slouch, it's not slow. However, it doesn't have blistering numbers either, like the 3800 supercharged engine that GM was also offering at the same time. However, there are some cool and interesting facts about this engine. This engine's actually based off of Cadillac's North Star engine, which hasn't had the best reliability in the past. However, hopefully lopping 2 cylinders off and making it a V6 instead of a V8 would help that reliability ever so slightly. And because of that North Star relation, this engine has actually been nicknamed the Short Star, because it's a North Star with 2 fewer cylinders, so it's actually physically shorter. I find that kind of funny. The other really cool thing about this engine is the fact that it's actually a dual overhead cam V6, which wasn't as typical back in the day as it is today. You see a lot of dual overhead cam 4-cylinders back in the 90s and 2000s, but V6s were a little bit fewer and far between. And so that actually ups the red line to almost 6,500 RPM, which out of a V6 in a regular sedan, not bad. Like I said, paired to it, 4-speed automatic transmission. It's shifting here 22 years later, and I can't ask really much more from it. Last but not least, of course, the Intrigue is front-wheel drive. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of gauges. On the left is my coolant temperature and tachometer, and on the right is my speedometer and fuel, and you will see there is a service engine soon sign. That is for the cam positioning sensor. A lot of GM products from the 2000s suffer from this. My own Pontiac G6 went through, I think, 6 or 7 cam position sensors. So that's not anything to worry about, but it's slightly common issue for the Intrigue in case you buy one. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my program and seek as well as volume, and on the right, I have my cruise control options, and then in the center, it's just a very pillowy 90s airbag, which I just find amusing. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent and my gauge dimmer switch, fog lights, and trunk release. And then on the door, I have my lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. And I also get this nice fake wood accent that is part of the GLS package, which classens up the interior ever so slightly. Moving into the center, I do have my hazard switch and cruise control button, as well as 2 climate control vents. Then we have the Oldsmobile radio. This is the factory radio from the year 2000. And as you can see, it says theft lock. So basically, if this radio loses power or gets unplugged, you have to call, well, you would call Oldsmobile to get a radio code. You'd have to plug that code in, and then it would unlock the radio. This is obviously to prevent theft, or at least deter it. However, I'm sure you could call just GM or Chevy or someone, but kind of interesting that you can no longer call Oldsmobile themselves because they don't exist. Down below that, we have our climate controls. Very interesting here that it does have dual zone climate. I love seeing that in late 90s cars because they were so few and far between to have dual zone. Very, very nice feature for the Intrigue. Then I do get my heated seat options. Fantastic. Another great feature and part of the GLS, as well as a 12-volt outlet, a little cubby, and a cup holder. However, this isn't the only cup holder in the car, so we'll do a big friggin' bottle test with the other one, but something to note. And then we have the shifter itself, very chunky plastic GM shifter I've come to know and love from many, many vehicles of this era. Pretty much a parts bin part. However, it is kind of satisfying to push the button in. Has a nice return spring. No complaints. Then I have a second cup holder. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Intrigue. This one fails. The one in front of the shifter fails. Unfortunately, I was hoping at least one of them would get a pass for the big friggin' bottle test, but alas, the Oldsmobile Intrigue fails. Then I do get a little center console and the seats. Now the GLS actually got a more adjustable seat for the driver, which is very, very nice. It is power as well. However, it still isn't memory quite yet. A little too early for that. Speaking of seats though, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2000 Oldsmobile Intrigue GLS, and it's spacious, it's nice, it's comfortable. The seats are very, very cushy. In terms of amenities, I do have a center console. It's just a big foam brick. I love that from the late 90s, early 2000s. I do have power windows, nice feature. And other than that, nothing really crazy to write home about, but it is comfortable and you do get a little bit more space back here than you would in the Alero, which was the smaller chassis vehicle. So pretty nice. One last thing about these seats is that they do fold down. You can fold them down for a pass-through with the trunk, which is very nice. However, let's go talk about the trunk because I don't think it needs much more size. All right, so around the back of the Oldsmobile Intrigue, on the key fob, I do have a trunk release button. It will just pop it, it won't open it, but then once you do pull it open, tons and tons and tons of space back here. This is a really great attribute of the Intrigue. Not only do you get some pretty spacious back seats, not bad, but this is tons and tons of room. This is where you really notice it over the Alero, how much extra space and how much longer of a chassis you actually have to deal with. So that is super nice. Nothing crazy to note back here. However, like I said, great space. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really like the look of the Intrigue, mainly because of this paint color. I know it's an overcast day, but it almost shifts colors as you walk around. It's very, very interesting. It's almost this light blue at times. It's silver at times. It almost has a hint of tan at times, and I think it's really, really interesting and a cool color for this car. It's still nonchalant, still sort of subtle like Oldsmobiles usually were, but hey, it's a little different. But now let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving an Oldsmobile Intrigue? Well, I want to talk about the Intrigue a little bit. The Intrigue was positioned just above the Alero in Oldsmobile's lineup. They had the Bravada, which was basically a Chevy Blazer. Then they had the minivan. They had the Alero, which was the smaller sedan, and then they had this, the Intrigue, which was the larger sedan, positioned in the 20,000s, as opposed to the Alero's mid-teens. It was designed to compete with more mid-level luxury vehicles, and I have to say that it is pretty luxurious. The ride is definitely noticeably harder than a Buick or Cadillac. It's not quite up there yet, but the materials in here have held together pretty well. The seats are comfortable and soft. The power is definitely adequate, and you can see where this is sort of an entry-level luxury vehicle as opposed to Chevy and Pontiac of the same era. But what I find most intriguing about this car is that it was actually meant to save Oldsmobile. You see, Oldsmobile went out of business in 2004. GM killed it off because of lack of sales, and actually in the year 2000, they set their plan to start phasing vehicles out. The writing was on the wall in the late 90s. Oldsmobile just wasn't selling like it used to. So GM made the plan to slowly and agonizingly kill it. They killed, at the time, America's oldest auto manufacturer dating back to the late 1890s with Eli Ransom Olds. And so this was their effort. This was sort of that chariot out at the front of the battlefield to try to get people to buy Oldsmobiles again, to save the brand. And I think they did a lot of right things with this car. I think the engine, naming and history aside, is adequate. It's good. It has the torque and horsepower that I'd want in a vehicle like this. It has comfortable options in here. The dual zone climate is great. The power adjusting seats are fantastic. Plenty of trunk space, plenty of rear seat room. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. They just couldn't make enough money. They couldn't get it back. And so it's a little sad to drive this car knowing the outcome of Oldsmobile. I will say GM at least gave them a little bit of an exit party, and they released the final 500 edition of all of their models. came in this cool maroon color, had some special badges and features, and so they gave it a slight swan song. If anyone has a Final 500 edition of any Oldsmobile, please contact me with the information up on the screen. I would love to drive one and experience the true end, but this could have been a luxury competitor. I feel like if they just had the brand recognition, maybe if GM didn't cannibalize itself so much by having so many other vehicles share platforms and parts and mix up buyers into which brand they were actually buying from, maybe Oldsmobile would have stuck around. Maybe they could have done it, but unfortunately, as history has shown, they couldn't and they didn't. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Azarin for letting me take out his 2000 Oldsmobile Intrigue. It's really always cool to drive another Oldsmobile, and that's all thank you to him. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.